Most people today think they live in a free society. That's what they've been taught by government-run schools and told by all politicians. However, what they really exist in today is not a free society, but a semi-slave society. Lots of people take offense to that notion, oh, I'm not a slave, I don't live in a slave society. In fact, the 13th Amendment outlawed involuntary servitude. However, if you look at what these ideas actually mean, then the picture isn't quite so clear. To take the words of a slave himself, we want to look at the book by Frederick Douglass, Narrative Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, written by himself. He experienced this firsthand, beaten, shipped around, and used as his masters saw fit, and denied the ability to learn to read, at least officially. He has some interesting couple quotes here, which I will read parts of and then comment upon and how it applies to today. In one quote he said that, I have found that to make a contented slave is necessary to make a thoughtless slave. And indeed, today's government-run schools are designed to make certain that only certain ideas get published or spread around in education. Indeed, that's the main reason why government-run schools are unconstitutional. They violate the First Amendment. Government has no right, no place in deciding what ideas shall or shall not be taught, what standards shall or shall not be used. Yet Frederick Douglass also says it's necessary to darken his moral and mental vision, and as far as possible to annihilate the power of reason. Today, reason is laughed at, objective reality is laughed at, natural rights as condition of the human mind are laughed at and disparaged in academia and by society in general. Feel, don't think is what we're told to do, or at least shown to do. Thinking is seen as bad. Don't be doctrinaire. Don't have any beliefs that exist beyond what people tell you that you should believe in or that most of society accepts. Douglass goes on to say, he must be able to detect no inconsistency in slavery. He must be made to feel that slavery is right, and he can be brought to that only when he ceases to be a man. And that is indeed much of the case in our society today. The current realm of government-run everything is seen as what is the natural state of humanity. That government should be our nanny, should dictate to us what we can and cannot do with our bodies and our lives. And there's no realm too small, from the size of holes in Swiss cheese to how much water our toilets use to the kind of light bulbs we can or cannot buy. All are determined by the government on penalty of imprisonment or fines or some other punishment. But that's setting on the stage for one of the biggest means of enslavement, that is the tax system. Taxation is legalized slavery. Legalized theft, I should say. Well, legalized slavery as well. No way does anyone else have a right to a penny of my money or a minute of my time. My life belongs to me, just as your life belongs to you. Your property belongs to you, just as my property belongs to me. Property, by definition, means the right and ability to determine how my life and my property shall or shall not be used. The government has made that impossible. In legal theory and close to practice in the 1930s, taxation could be 100%, and they could just simply send us a small check what they thought we deserved to live. The tax code rates have risen to 95-98% in the past. Even now, the federal government takes up to a third of our money, not counting state, federal, local taxes. You spend half your life working for the government, and you have no say in how that money can or will be spent. This is Frederick Douglass's experience with one of his own masters. He said, I could see no reason why I should, at the end of the week, pour the reward of my toil in the purse of my master. Frederick Douglass was living in Maryland and had a job outside of his master's home and would earn money, but he had to turn all of it over to his master. Douglass goes on, when I carried to him my weekly wages, he would, after counting the money, look me in the face with a robber-like fierceness and ask, is this all? He was satisfied with nothing less than the last cent. Indeed, government sees our money as its money, the politicians' money. My master would, however, when I made him $6, sometimes give me 6 cents to encourage me. Yes, we get to keep a small portion of our money as encouragement to keep working. It had the opposite effect. I regarded it as a sort of admission of my right to the whole. The fact that he gave me any part of my wages was proof to my mind that he believed me entitled to the whole of them. Politicians know the truth. They know they're stealing. They just don't care. They know that it's our money. You have no right to anything that I produce through voluntary means that violates no one else's rights. I always felt worse for having received anything, Douglass goes on, for I feared that giving me a few cents would ease his conscience and make him feel himself to be a pretty honorable sort of robber. My discontent grew upon me. Yes, indeed, the government feels that it's helping us, it's being nice to us by letting us keep more of our money or less of our money depending on the whim of the moment in the elections. Master Thomas, Frederick Douglass says, exhorted me to content myself and be obedient. He told me if I would be happy, I must lay out no plans for the future. He said if I behaved myself properly, he would take care of me. Yes, indeed, that's the government in today's world. It wants to take care of us through Medicare, Social Security, Obamacare, daycare, government-run education, government-run schools, education schools, government-run roads. Everything is to be provided by the government because they're so beneficent and wonderful people. Don't disobey, don't complain, just do what you're told to do, be a good little slave. And indeed, the way the government runs, it's impossible to make good plans for the future because you never know as a business person what new regulations or taxes are going to come down the line. As an individual, the government takes so much of your money, you don't know how to plan for businesses your own, for retirement or any particular project. All can go away at any time they pass some stupid law. Douglass goes on, indeed, my master advised me to be complete thoughtlessness of the future and taught me to depend solely upon him for happiness. He seemed to see fully the pressing necessity of setting aside my intellectual nature in order to content myself in slavery. But in spite of him, and even in spite of myself, I continued to think about the injustice of my enslavement and the means of escape. Yes, the government doesn't want you to criticize it, doesn't want you to complain you're some kind of radical, as though somehow being a radical is automatically bad. I guess being radically honest or having radical integrity would be bad according to them. But you're not supposed to think, don't plan, don't do anything but accept what your lot is. Unfortunately, today there is no escape. Every country is an example of slavery. We maybe less enslaved here than other places, but the noose has been around our neck. And once the noose is there, you are a slave. Freedom is all or nothing. Slavery comes in degrees. What we need to do is stop treating our fellow citizens, our fellow human beings as slaves, and even more so, we have to stop letting ourselves be treated as slaves. Each of us has a right to be free. Each of us is an autonomous human being. Stay out of my life. Stay out of my pocketbook. Leave me alone. But don't get me started.